Hello, my little rainclouds. I wanted to make another colouring in audio because I kind of reflected on the previous ones, and I think the counselling ramble one I did was really good. I really liked that one. I'm proud of that one. But the first two that I made, I was very critical of myself, and I don't like that. I don't take it to heart. Like I wasn't really genuinely criticizing myself. I think I was more just kind of talking about flaws in my coloring and making jokes about them and being self-deprecating because maybe I was a little bit nervous, I suppose. I was experimenting with a new audio format that was very unstructured and I didn't really know what I was going to talk about. And also, I guess I hadn't really done any colouring in, and not since I was a little kid, at least. So I was a bit unsure. Maybe there's some nerves there, maybe. And so I think that's just kind of why I was rambling on about, flaws and imperfections in the work. And it doesn't matter. As I myself noted many times, they're just a bunch of kids. And it's an unimportant little picture to colour in. But I was thinking about that. And I don't like presenting that side of myself. It's not even really a side of myself, I suppose, because I certainly have struggled with my critical voice in the past, but I didn't genuinely believe the things I was saying. Those criticisms, they weren't valid criticisms or anything. I think it was just reflexive, maybe, or just to have something to say, perhaps, or to try and make a joke out of things. But I don't want to encourage that kind of critical voice in others. And in some ways, I suppose there's value in normalizing the idea that, everyone struggles with that, but I don't want to encourage that in others. And, I want to make a positive, safe space, and one that's encouraging and comforting, and one where criticism doesn't really matter, especially criticism coming from ourselves. That inner critic, that critical voice. We don't need to listen to it. We don't need to give weight to what it's saying. So I didn't want to do that anymore. And I think particularly because it didn't feel genuine coming from me. I wasn't really beating myself up. I wasn't internalizing those critical things, but it just, I don't know, it was inauthentic, maybe. And it's also, I don't think it's terribly enjoyable to listen to. I think it's kind of a bummer. I think it's kind of sad when you hear someone criticizing themselves, whether they really internalize it or not. So I don't want you to experience that, and I don't want me to experience that either. And I think it's good to try and be a positive role model and to show that it's okay to be flawed and to make things that are flawed and just be very accepting of that. So I wanted to try it again and take a different approach, more of a Bob Ross approach, maybe. So I have a picture here to color in. It is of Moses coming down from the mountain with 2 stone tablets, and he's got a bright yellow face, as though the sun is in his face. I don't just mean on, like shining on his face. I mean like he literally has light emanating from his face. Maybe that's meant to be like a physical, literal representation of enlightenment or something. I don't know. It seems weird, but that part is already colored in bright yellow. So, okay. Let's just go with that and embrace that and do the other stuff, I guess. So we've got mountain, we've got Moses, 2 stone tablets, and some clouds and a sky. And we're just gonna color it in, and we're just gonna make little choices and really not worry about anything we do. And there's no need for criticism. I might still stray into that, but I'm going to do my best not to give into that. I'm just going to try and enjoy the experience of coloring, and maybe I'll ramble about stuff. Maybe I won't. Maybe we'll just focus on the drawing. Don't really know. Doesn't really matter. But let us start. And I've got a couple of green pencils. My mum asked that I make his robes green, because apparently she has like a little, I don't know, picture or figure or something of Moses with a green robe already. So that is her request. I don't like that pencil. This one is very dark. It's very dark green. But that might kind of be interesting. Do we like that? And, you know, it's okay to appraise colors while still not being critical of them or the choices that we make. I'm gonna take a bit of a chance. I'm gonna go with this darker green. I'm not really sure how it's gonna look, but whether it looks good or not, it will still be okay. And that's kind of the take-home point. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing. We're just gonna try and enjoy things regardless of whether we think they're good, whether we have judgments. We're not going to be critical, certainly not just because we are looking for something to say. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all, right? But yeah, just sort of reflected on the way that I made those older ones, those initial audios, and I talked with a friend about them and how they felt about it, and realized, yeah, it was being kind of a dick to myself, and there was no real benefit to it, other than, I guess, just making me feel like I had something to talk about. But quite clearly, I have plenty of stuff to talk about regardless. So let's talk about nice things instead. Someone rightfully pointed out that in the counseling rambles one, I was much less critical of myself because I was talking about something that I was passionate about, and I was like, yeah. But I think maybe other people aren't as aware, but I'm not actually internalizing that criticism. I've certainly, there was probably a time when I would, but I genuinely didn't really care about the fact that I wasn't doing well, and I think it's okay to say that I wasn't doing a great job of coloring, because it's a skill that I haven't really developed. And not one that I really value, but yeah, just sort of interesting that I was kind of slipping into that self-deprecating habit without actually feeling the consequences of it or anything, and just doing that, probably just reflexively. But I don't want to do that, and that's not what Bob Ross would have done, you know. So let's be more like Bob Ross. I think that is a good motto. You know what? I quite like this green, actually. It's like a little bit greenish grey, kind of an olive kind of look to it, maybe. But it's quite nice, actually. He's got like a little kind of a bottom robe, like his robe seems to go sort of below his stomach, and then there's like a second robe that I guess is like underneath his primary robe or something. And I don't know if we want to make that a different color. My mum she called it a top knot, which I don't think is what that is. I think a top knot is a hairstyle. But she said that can be a different color. Hasn't really given me a lot of direction on these, which is nice. But this one, she wanted me to leave his face colored a weird sunny yellow, and she wanted his robe to be green. So very well. Yeah, it's been nice to make these little coloring in audios and stuff. Certainly, I've got other kinds of audios that I want to make, and lots of topics to explore and things to try, but it's been nice to do this different kind of format. So it's almost sort of like a podcast in a way, I guess. Though usually podcasts are a bit more structured and often have other people involved or a particular topic in mind, but yeah, it's just kind of rambling with Rainy. But it's quite nice, and there are topics I'd like to talk about, and probably will talk about, and I kind of want to save them for like their own specific kind of audio, because I feel like some people aren't going to be very interested in listening to these ones because they're very long and unstructured and a bit more raw and unpolished and stuff. So they may give it a miss, which is fine, totally valid. Or they may not listen to it for a long time because they see like an hour and a half and they're like, "Ooh, I don't have time for that." And nobody got time for that, so they just kind of like put it to a side and don't listen to it. And again, that's totally fine. But I kind of feel like there are some topics that are a bit too important that I don't want people to miss out on. So I'm hesitant to talk about them in this kind of format. Not that I need to just do it once. Certainly I can repeat a concept, or I can like ramble on about it here and then kind of refine it and make it a little more succinct, and do another focused audio on that and just talk for like 5 minutes or something. But I don't know. Yeah, I think that might be okay, just to sort of ramble on about stuff and then do it again. Because, there's been other audios that have repeated topics and concepts. Certainly I've done a lot of comforting anxiety sort of audios that have repeated many similar aspects. And, people seem to enjoy them nonetheless. But I think, there are some important topics that I'd like to cover. And, again, it's that building it up in my head and wanting to do it justice kind of thing. And there's always the desire to like read up on things more and educate myself more so that I have a better perspective on things. But I don't think that there's really a point where that would ever stop. You can always learn more, even if you've done like a PhD on something, like still not necessarily feeling that knowledgeable about it. So maybe I should just cut the cord and do it. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is it's a nice format to just kind of explore things in a more chill way, and maybe make it a bit more palatable for some who might find it a bit intimidating to have like a concentrated 5-minute dose of talking about something. Maybe this is easier to swallow for some, and it's just nice sort of companionship too. There, that's his green robe looking pretty good actually. I quite like that. I kind of changed up the direction of my coloring, and I did notice a little kind of instinct or a drive, I guess, to comment on that negatively, but it's not a strong one, and quite clearly it doesn't matter. But just kind of being mindful of what my brain's doing. But overall, I feel pretty good about this. I feel good about this color. It's a nice color, and kind of makes me think of the poncho that the guy wears in The Emperor's New Groove, which is a good movie. It's got David Spade in it. I don't really like David Spade that much, but he was pretty good in that movie. I think is his name Pacho? I don't think it's Poncho. I think it's Pacho, played by John Goodman. Yeah, he's got like a green little poncho on. It kind of makes me think of that. What color should the bottom half of his robe be? Not sure. Maybe we'll come back to that. Maybe we'll do skin color. Not sure if my mum wants the entirety of his skin to be golden. I'm assuming that she does not. Let's just give him sort of a medium brown. I think we called it like peanut butter brown before. Because Moses is not white. He is exuding some golden light, which is a bit strange. But given that he is pretty clearly not Caucasian, let's give him a nice kind of tanned skin color. It's a little bit lighter than I was intending, a little bit dirtier, maybe, but again, that's okay. Let's embrace it. Let's embrace that flaw and not judge it. See, progress. Yeah. Already, I think this is a much nicer approach, and it's more laid back, more chill, which is good. I used to struggle a lot with my inner critic and perfectionist tendencies. Certainly when I first started making audios, I was a big perfectionist, and it's not great being a perfectionist. It's not great at any point, but I certainly think being a perfectionist when you're first starting to do something is rough, because you don't know how to make it perfect. Even if you have like a very limited view of perfection, you don't really know what you're doing, and you don't have the techniques and the experience to be able to make it, quote unquote perfect. Not that anything can really be perfect, and perfection is not really a desirable quality, right? Because perfection means stagnation. It means being the same, never changing, and that typically is a flaw, really. But yeah, the desire to make something perfect, to insulate yourself from negative criticism by other people, but I think particularly by yourself. It's a strong desire, and it's a problematic one, because you spend so much time and effort trying to make something perfect, and it's never going to be, and it doesn't matter. I had a very unhealthy attitude towards making audios. My self-esteem, my self-worth was very low, and so it was something that I was doing to try and boost that, to try and feel better about myself. And principally the way that happened was that I got some nice comments. I got nice feedback from making something. People enjoyed it. They liked me. They liked the thing that I made. They liked the person behind it and all of that. And so they'd leave me a nice comment, and it did feel nice. It did sort of temporarily silence my inner critic, because I could go and point to that and say, no, see, they think I'm good. You're wrong. And, that worked for a time, but only for a time. It was temporary. And if I didn't keep creating things, if I didn't keep getting positive feedback and nice comments, then my inner critic would start to get more powerful, start to get more savage, and start to tear me down more. So it was this kind of futile cycle of just keep doing this thing, keep kind of treading water, keep fighting off the critical voice, and when it worked okay, but often there would be a spanner in the works, and things would kind of break down. I wouldn't make something. I'd leave it too long, and then I wouldn't get my required dose of feedback, and I'd start to feel bad about myself, and then because I felt bad about myself, I wouldn't make things, and so I'd just kind of get stuck in that cycle for a while. And so that didn't tend to work very well. And as a result, I kind of frequently flip-flopped between doing mostly okay and then kind of not doing so great, being pretty depressed and falling into this pattern of just fighting off negative thoughts. And my therapist and I, we likened it to playing a sort of defensive chess game where you're just trying to keep the status quo and fight off this opponent, and you never end up getting anywhere, making it any progress. It's just fighting off the bad so that it doesn't get worse, which is not a great place to be. It's not a great situation. So, we talked through it a lot, and we worked through things and tried to make stuff better. And over time, my approach shifted. And so I stopped worrying so much about making things flawless. Because, part of it was trying to get positive feedback, was ensuring that something was so good that it would get positive feedback. But I think most of it was just ensuring that it didn't have flaws so that it wouldn't get negative feedback. Because when your self-esteem and self-worth is low like that, the idea of someone actually saying something negative about you is kind of crushing. You don't really think that you can handle it. You can, but you don't feel like you can. But I think really it's mostly about avoiding your own criticism. If you kind of make something good enough, not flawed, then your own inner critic won't tear you down so much. It'll still tear you down a bit because it'll force you to get to that point by pointing out all the flaws and making sure that you correct them or fix them or whatever. Because it's a defense mechanism that you have to prevent criticism from other people, is that you criticize yourself first, and typically much more harshly than anyone else would criticize you. Trying to preempt that criticism so that you don't get exposed to it by someone else. But the problem is that you still get exposed to it because you are criticizing yourself, and you can't just shrug it off and be like, that person's wrong, they're a dick, because it's you, it's your brain. So it feels very, very true, but it's not. So, there was that perfectionist tendency, and my inner critic was just hyperactive, just very savage. And eventually there was a shift from wanting to entertain people, which, people liked and they'd give you nice feedback for, but it felt fairly empty. And shifting instead to making things that seemed like they helped people, that they had genuine value to those people, and that it was a positive influence in their life, and in so doing, that made me feel better about things. It was more meaningful to me. And it turns out it was in line with my values, and I wasn't really conscious of that. I wasn't really aware that that's what was happening. But one of my core values is helping people. And so by doing that, by making things that meant more to someone that wasn't just this sort of superficial entertainment thing, but actually had a pretty meaningful impact, positive impact on someone's life, that then made me feel quite good about myself. And it's still dependent upon someone else's reaction. They still need to tell you that it meant something to them. So it's not wholly independent, unfortunately, but it lasts a lot longer. It's a lot more powerful than that sort of temporary high of just being like, oh, this is great. You've got a great voice. You're really good at making things. And like, that's nice. But hearing that something you made really meant something and impacted someone positively, that really did a lot for me. And so I sort of gradually started shifting to that. And in so doing, I started to find that actually, once that I kind of built up, once I had changed my way of thinking about recording things, about audios, about who I was, about what kind of things I was doing, about the value of what I was doing, then I didn't really need to get the response anymore. And instead it was more just a general sense of, yeah, I did a good thing. Like that has the potential and the capacity to help someone a lot. That has a lot of value in it. Whether or not that value is realized by someone, immediately listening to it or whatever, doesn't really matter that much. Sometimes I can still get a bit disappointed if an audio hasn't had the response I was hoping for or whatever, but that's on me. But yeah, typically I find that I feel good about making a thing, whether or not anyone tells me it had value. Particularly as I've learned that many people don't tell you. They experience something and it can be world changing for them, and then they don't necessarily tell you. They might keep it to themselves. They might be too shy. They might be embarrassed by it or ashamed. They often think that their words don't have value, which is wrong. You can see that I have a video that says your words matter. Listen to that if you haven't, because your words do matter. And I like hearing when my audios have meant something to someone. But I think I've kind of built up enough evidence, this sufficient body of evidence to help me see that, yeah, what I do actually has a lot of value, and that is not always apparent. And also, it has a lot of value to me because I feel like I'm making something worthwhile. Yes, a lot of that worth is based on what it means to someone else, but it's still important to me, and I feel proud of things that I've made, even if nobody really enjoys them or finds value in them right away. They might in like 6 months' time, So I think overall there's just been that shift, and I'm making things more for me. They're still for other people in a sense, but they're for me in the sense that they're things that I want to do. I think that I can help people in a certain way. I think that this is an important topic. I have things that I want to say about things. I'm making stuff that I want to make, rather than just things that are popular or that get a lot of views or reactions or whatever. People are certainly clamoring for, DDLG videos and more like romantic stuff, more boyfriend roleplay stuff, a lot of daddy stuff. People want more bedtime stories, and I get it, but bedtime stories, pretty hard to find good ones, particularly for free. A lot of people want things, and often those things aren't necessarily the things that I want to make, and often they're also not things that I think are really that valuable to people. They're often, I think, people who want entertainment, and entertainment's fine. I certainly used to consider myself an entertainer, but I've kind of shifted, I think, and I don't really think of myself so much as an entertainer anymore. Certainly I still do things that entertain people here and there, but in general, I think it's much more about helping people and being therapeutic and helping people overcome things and challenging unhealthy thought patterns and changing the way people view themselves and helping people understand things more and comforting people and helping them work through issues and, things like that. And even when I make entertainment-y kind of stuff, there's often that kind of therapeutic bent to it, that desire to help people. Even if I'm making like a daddy audio or whatever, there's typically a desire to help people with that thing. It's not just appealing to a popular dynamic or a demographic that wants certain audios aimed at them. It's using that kind of thing in a therapeutic way, in a way that helps people. And that's not always the most popular thing. Certainly, a lot of people are very, very quick to tell me what I should and should not make, what kind of things they want more of, even if they don't want to necessarily be very polite or respectful about it. A lot of entitled people, a lot of demanding people telling me, make this kind of thing. And a lot of people telling me the kinds of things that they want, and that's fine. But it's not really about what you want, It's about what I want to make, and what I want to make is what I think most people need, rather than just what they want. Because I think that those kinds of things that people want and that are commonly requested, they're easy enough to come by. I think there's a lot of people out there who make those kinds of things. Maybe you don't consider them to be as well made or made in the particular kind of way that I make them. Maybe they're not exactly what you want. Maybe you really like my voice and you want to hear it in other ways. But, I'm trying to embrace my values and my drives and the things that motivate me, the things that feel like they have worth to me, that give me a sense of fulfillment. And that's not necessarily the most popular thing. It's not necessarily the thing that the audiences seem to want. It's not the things that have the highest views. And I've been there. I've been there chasing the popular thing. I've been there doing what was successful or popular or lucrative, but wasn't fulfilling and didn't really feel meaningful. It felt empty. And I don't want to be there again. I've made those kinds of mistakes, and that can come at the cost of not being as financially successful or not making people as happy in the short term. That can come with the cost of not having the numbers that maybe some other people do, or the numbers that I could have. But I don't really mind. It's more about fulfillment and about purpose and meaning. Those are the things that I've found are what silence my inner critic. Those are the kinds of things that make me feel good about myself. And that, to me, is worth more than money or numbers or views or even nice comments. Just making what I'm passionate about, what I care about. And, there's a variety of things that fall into that category. So sometimes I'm willing to make certain kinds of things that people want and that people enjoy and that might be a bit more entertaining based. But it's about having a variety of things, I think. It's about being well-rounded and not being typecast or stuck in a particular pattern, or only feeling like I can express myself in certain ways or make certain kinds of audios. I'm just kind of following my passion and my bliss and doing what feels good to me, what feels motivating to me. And that is way, way, way more valuable than being super successful in terms of views or finances or anything like that. And maybe that's not really what you want to hear. And I understand that. It can be disappointing if you're wanting me to make certain kinds of things, if you're wanting me to be a personality that I'm not, or approach things in a way that doesn't really match who I am or suit me. But, you know, I don't want to be that kind of person. I've been down that road and it wasn't for me. It made me miserable. So I've just got to listen to myself, got to listen to my values and follow that. And, you know, if you wanna come along for the ride, you're welcome to. And if you don't want to, or if you're only after certain kinds of content, and you might pop in once in a while and check on things, or listen to only certain kinds of audios, that's cool. That's fine. But just, try to be respectful and polite, and understand that I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the sort of things that matter to me. And, I would expect no less from you. I want you to do what you want to do, not just what I want you to do. I want you to be happy and fulfilled, and finding your passion and pursuing the things that make you feel good about yourself, and the things that silence your inner critic, that give you that fulfillment and confidence and contentment. And I want that for everyone, because I think that's really important. I think that all too often we're chasing things that we don't really want. I've been down that road several times, and it's not great. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. So, I've learned those lessons the hard way, and it can be irritating or disheartening when someone's telling me what kind of things to make, particularly when they're just yelling at me to make, DDLG audios comforting a little after a tantrum or something like that. And it's not what I'm about. I think that, DDLG, DDLB stuff, the daddy stuff, that can be very comforting. It can be very soothing and therapeutic. It can be nurturing and help someone want to grow, help motivate them, help feel safe, all those sorts of things. But just catering to a lifestyle or a demographic, making things that entertain people but don't necessarily have a lot of long-term value, or don't really have a positive effect on their life, and certainly not in the ways that matter to me. They're not my thing. Boyfriend audios and stuff, there's value in those, certainly, but some of them are just a bit more superficial, a bit more entertainment based. And there's nothing wrong with entertainment. That used to be a big thing for me. I loved entertainment, and I thought that I was going to be an entertainer primarily, but I'm kind of finding that that's not really what's important to me. Not so much, maybe just a dash of entertainment, but I think, it's much more about personal growth and about encouraging people, about teaching people, about helping people. And I like that. I'm finding that is very, very fulfilling, and it makes me feel good about myself. It fills me up. It makes me feel better about things when I'm having a hard time with things, when I'm not feeling great about myself. Those kinds of things that kind of build me up, make me feel better. And that's where my values lie. And I think that it's kind of I don't know if responsibility is really the right word, but maybe the responsibility of every person to try and live a life in line with their values. The meaning of life is to live a life of meaning, simply enough. And we do that by living a life in accordance with our values. And everyone has different values, and to different degrees. And I think it's your duty to live that kind of life, whatever it is for you. Doing the things that you're passionate about, that you care about, that feel meaningful to you. And that's what I'm doing. And that's probably not going to line up 100% with what you want from me. And that's okay. And it's okay to be kind of disappointed about that. But I think ultimately we just got to respect that, everyone has different paths, different things that they value and care about, and it's not always going to be what we want from them. And I don't think we should begrudge them that. I don't think that we should be upset or bitter or negative about that, and just kind of accept that, they're living their life according to what they believe and what they want, what's important to them, what makes them feel good. And who are we to want something else? Who are we to ask otherwise? Who are we to be upset about that? It's okay to feel disappointed or feel upset, I suppose, but to be angry with them or to try and tear them down or stop them, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's reasonable. So, I guess that's kind of the takeaway point that I've learned, is to be yourself and be true to yourself and your values, and do what you want to do, not what other people want you to do. Even if it's more profitable or more successful, more popular, I think it's important to take the road that you want to take and to listen to yourself about that. I've chased things that I thought I wanted, and it turns out I didn't. They didn't really fulfill me. They didn't really make me feel good about myself. I found them empty, and sometimes we keep going back to that thing, and sometimes we try and convince ourselves that no, it's good, or it's going to be good, or we'll get to a point that we want it. And I don't know. I think a lot of the time you just have to accept, that's not what I wanted. I thought I wanted it, and it's not. And that's okay. Hell, I did a whole degree studying science thinking that's what I wanted, and it turns out it's not. But I learned a lot, both about science, but I think more importantly about myself. And it's just a stepping stone on the path to get here. And that certainly wasn't the only mistake I've made. It wasn't the only wrong direction that I've gone in, but you learn from it, and you figure out what you do want, and you keep looking. That's the important thing. I've been lost a lot, and not really sure what direction to go in, and sometimes it's tempting to just wait and hope that the answer will dawn on you, that you'll find whatever it is that you're looking for, that you can live a life without risk, without failure, without consequences, without making a wrong decision. If you just wait, the answer will come to you. But no, it doesn't tend to work that way. You have to try things, and that sucks. It sucks when you try things and you find, that's it's not actually what I wanted. Certainly it sucks when you've dedicated a lot of time and money, effort, hardship to that thing, but eventually you learn, and it's important not to fall into the sunk cost fallacy, right? You've invested so much in a thing that you need to keep going with it, because that's not the case. Could have kept going with science, but I would have been miserable. I'm glad that I didn't. And in some ways I kind of regret going down that path and spending so much time and money there, but at the same time, it helped me get to where I am today. And maybe I wouldn't have if I didn't take that course, and all the other mistakes that I've made, doing the different kind of things that didn't fulfill me, that didn't make me feel good about myself, or that wasted time and money and energy and heartache, all those sorts of things. They weren't really a waste, because they got me to where I am now. And while that's not perfect by any means, it's a lot better. And I'm a lot happier in general. Certainly more fulfilled, more content than I have been in any other direction of my life, any other aspect of my life, any other thing I've dedicated myself to, this is the closest, at the very least, that I've been to what I want and what makes me feel good. It's not a 100% match. There are still some rough edges. There are still some things that I need to, explore and figure out and try and make fit for me, and that's okay. I think it's good to recognize that. That's not a bad thing. Doesn't mean that my life's wrong or that it sucks or that I'm wasting my time. It just means that, not everything is 100% yet. And that's absolutely okay. But I think it's important to figure things out and to acknowledge that, you're making a wrong turn sometimes, or that something isn't really working out, or it's not worth the pain and the heartache and the time and the money and the effort. And that you'd be happier doing something else, even if you don't know what that is. It's important not to stop looking. It's important not to be afraid of looking, of trying things. Because I can tell you the times in my life that I was unhappiest, where I was really miserable, those were the times where I was ignoring what my brain was telling me, what my life was telling me. Those important signals to say, hey, this isn't right, this isn't working for you, this isn't what you want, this isn't who you are. Sadness and misery, even depression, they can tell you things. They're important. It's good to listen to them. This picture's coming along pretty nicely. It's a little bit lighter than I would have liked, maybe. I might have to go in a little darker with some things, but it's not bad. It's okay. I don't really like the yellow on his face, but I didn't do that part, so whatever. Kind of looks like something went wrong with the printer, but apparently that's intentional. Apparently that's what my mum wanted, so whatevs. I've given him a green robe and then sort of a purple underrobe, and given him like a sort of streaked grey beard, which kind of looks a little... Looks good, actually. It has like a nice texture that kind of matches the age, I guess, the lines on his face and stuff. That's, what about you? You seem like quite a dark brown, but maybe that's okay. Yeah, sure. Let's color in his sandals with that. Yeah, we've covered a bunch of different topics and kind of looked at it. A bit of my story that I guess I haven't really expanded on that much, although I talked about it maybe a little bit in the Q&A videos, but just going down wrong paths that weren't right for me, making things that didn't really ring true with my values, that wasn't really being myself, and wasn't really listening to myself about what I wanted and didn't want, and what was right and what wasn't for me. And that's okay. I think everyone makes that mistake many, many times in their life, and I'm sure that I will in the future, even after seemingly, liking where I'm at right now. I'm sure I'll make plenty of wrong decisions, and I won't listen to myself for a good long while about the fact that it doesn't really suit me. But hopefully, I'll be more mindful of it, and I'll try and listen where I can, and I'll make changes where I need to, because, it's important to be aware of what you're feeling. Feelings are great. I'm going to make like 20 videos on feelings, I'm sure, and on the importance of listening to them. But yeah, the, sadness and depression and emptiness, dissatisfaction, all those kinds of things, they're really, really important to listen to. It's not pleasant, but that's not a bad thing. They're not meant to be pleasant. They're meant to be unpleasant, so that you listen and you take notice and you're like, oh, I don't like that feeling. I better get to the bottom of it and then change whatever it is that's causing me to feel that way. And that's a very important lesson. Not to run from our feelings, but to accept them and listen to them, and then try and do something. They often guide us to make decisions better. Whatever's right for us. It's important to listen to what your feelings are saying and how you feel about all sorts of different things. That's something I've become more aware of, and something I want to talk about a lot. So, I'm going to make lots and lots of videos on that, I'm sure. And it's tough. It's tough to put into practice. I can recommend that to my friends. I can encourage them to do that. I can guide them through that. But doing it myself, it's harder. It's a lot harder. But I am, I think, doing much better about it, and that feels good. I'm more emotionally healthy, more in tune with myself, more mature about things. I'm proud of myself for that. I'm proud of myself for recognizing that and learning that. I'm proud of myself for encouraging it in my friends and loved ones. I'm very proud of them for trying to actually do that more as well, because I know it's not easy. It is tough, but very, very important, very beneficial. We have feelings for a reason. It's a very complex system that we would not have if it didn't do anything good. Feelings are fantastic. They are so useful. Rarely pleasant, although some of them can be, but very, very useful. Coloring in the sky, making a nice blue sky. There's a big old cloud, which, it could be like a thundercloud or something, but I'm gonna interpret it as a nice clear day. Well, not clear because there's a big cloud there, but a nice blue sky. I've got the tablets. I don't know if we want to color in the stone tablets. I guess we should. Are they like grey? They're typically presented as grey. I feel like the tablets would probably be more like a clay or something, really. But whatever. I guess this is like mythological. So sure, let's make him a grey. I mean, his beard is grey, and I kind of don't want him to be like the exact same color as his beard. But it's not a big problem, I guess. It's not the worst thing in the world if they're similar kind of colors. I do have like black pencils that I could use rather than a lead pencil. And maybe that'd look nice. Maybe that'd be a bit dark considering there's writing and stuff on them, but yeah, I think I'll just go with the lead pencil maybe, and we'll just do like an up and down kind of shading for the hair, so maybe we'll do a side to side. Yeah, that looks nice. Much more chill, much more relaxing and accepting kind of tone to this audio. I'm a lot happier with this. I think this feels nicer. It feels more in line with who I actually am and more in line with my values, which, as we discussed, is very, very important. And I'm still figuring out what my values are. I still don't know all of them necessarily, and the best ways to try and fill them. I think that it'd be very good to try and have other outlets for my values rather than predominantly audio recording or counseling. I'd like to have other kinds of activities, particularly things that don't involve anyone else and that don't necessarily require the conditions to be that great. Don't necessarily need things to be quiet, don't need equipment. You can just do things whenever the mood strikes me. I think that'd be nice. So I'd like to try and explore my values more and find other outlets for them. But certainly I am very, very glad that I have explored my values and figured out the ones that I have. One of the best things I ever did. Just learning more about values, learning how to be fulfilled, how to feel good about myself, what kind of things are important to me. Because, now my life has purpose, and it didn't really before. It didn't have much purpose, and that sucks. It's not a great feeling. You've probably experienced that. You may be experiencing it yourself now. And, my sympathies. I know how it feels, and it sucks. So I very much hope that you are able to explore your values and figure out what it is that you care about, because it's a great feeling when you're doing things in line with your values, and it makes everything else so much easier. It makes everything else so much better. You don't care about the negative things so much. Once you're living life in line with your values, it's not a binary thing. It's not. Are you living in line with your values? Yes or no? It's like, I'm doing more values-based things now. I'm more aware of my values and doing more in line with it, and I feel better about myself because of that. But when you start doing more values-based things, you just feel so much better about yourself. You're not as critical about things. You're not as worried about stuff. Depression and anxiety and everything else just kind of melts away. It really doesn't impact you anywhere near as much. You can still obviously have bad days and flare-ups and things, and you can still struggle with stuff, but it just makes life so much better. It really does. And I hope that you'll be able to have that yourself, because you deserve it. We all do. Everyone does. And it really enriches my life. It has made life so much better, and it's made me so much better as a person. And just listening to myself and acting in the way that I want to act, acting in line with who I am as a person, and feeling good as a result, and not feeling bad, because those bad feelings are often informing you, hey, you didn't act in a way that you want to. You didn't act in a way that's in line with your values and your morals, your core beliefs, your concept as a person. We often feel guilt and shame and sadness and depression and things like that, because we're not living life in line with our values. And now that I am living life in line with my values, I don't feel those things as much. And when I do, I can recognize, maybe that's an indicator that I need to be doing more in line with my values. I'm missing those things, and sometimes those feelings can come out in the wrong ways that don't really help you do stuff, that demotivate you. But often they are a motivator for change. They're a motivator to make you, act more in line with your values, to live the kind of life that you want. And that's really, really important, really helpful. So, I really, really, really hope that you can learn to live life in line with your values, whatever they are. I highly recommend trying to figure out what your values are. There are lots of different ways of doing that, lots of different quizzes and guides and things, lots of different exercises and activities that you can do, but I don't recommend a specific one, but I'm certainly planning to make audios about that topic, because it is a very, very important topic and very near and dear to my heart. It really changed my life and made me the person I am. And it's a big part of of my channel, my audios, of my day-to-day life, my philosophy, and I want that for everyone, honestly. That's really important to me. That's the value of my own, I guess. But I plan to make audios on that subject and many others, and talk about this kind of thing a lot more. But, for now, I think this picture's looking good. Pretty satisfied with it. I think we're pretty much done. And I think this has been a nice audio. A little shorter than previous ones. Not that that is at all a bad thing, in my view. Those other ones take a long time to upload. But, yeah, I think this was really nice for lots of different reasons. I'm proud of myself. And I don't think I criticized myself once for this picture. And, I don't necessarily think it's like the best one I've ever done. It's certainly very different. It's much more focused, much more close up. But I think it's a nice picture, and it looks good. And I've made some nice choices here. And there are some flaws in it, certainly. I really don't like the yellow face that it was given to me with. But I think it's a nice picture, and I feel good about it. And I feel good about myself for having done it. And I hope that you feel good about yourself too, whatever you did. I'm proud of you. You deserve good things. You are a human being, just like me. You deserve to feel good about yourself, to live a life in line with your values, a life of meaning. And I hope that you get to that point. I hope I do too. I hope I don't stray away from it. I hope I continue to live a life in line with my values and continue to explore what those values are and how to live my life more in line with them. It's really the best feeling in the world. Alright, I could color this mountain in forever, but I don't think it's really going to get any darker, and it doesn't need to. It's fine. It's a nice, more sort of light stone. I think it looks good. Sure. Let's say that is done. Good work, Rainy. Okay, my little rain clouds. Until next time, take care of yourselves for me.